Welcome to Paranormal or Reality. We have 4 stories about haunted dolls. Always think twice when receiving a gift doll. You don't know what attachments it may have. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Now, let's start. I was talking to my friend about this a while ago, and we were both wondering why this entity, that's not a mean entity, would attach itself to a 6.5-foot-tall dancing clown animatronic named Pennywise. The only thing I can think of is that this doll was the most human-looking thing at that Halloween store. So I used to work at a haunted Halloween store. Anyone who worked there often had some creepy stories from the ghosts that reside there. We had a homeless man with a collection of dolls who lived behind the store. He probably wasn't the first homeless guy to live there. One year, I bought an animatronic Pennywise clown from that store at a fantastic discount. I was so excited when I brought him home. It was great collection to my animatronic dolls that my family and I would put up during Halloween. My house was not haunted, but after I brought it home, weird things started happening. For example, I woke up one night to a clown standing at the foot of my bed. It wasn't just a nightmare thing either. It stayed there after I blinked and jumped up screaming. But when we put Pennywise away, down in the basement, the activity would stop. We've had him since 2019, and every time I bring him upstairs, stuff starts happening. Lights flickering, doors slamming, and stuff being moved around. 2 years ago, the light in my bathroom started going off like a strobe light. My toddler saw it and asked if we could shut the door because it was scaring him. It went on and on for like a half an hour. One time, Pennywise's eyes glowed a reddish color. Even my husband saw this one. He went to unplug the doll, and to his surprise, it was not plugged in. This last season, when we brought him upstairs, he moved his whole body toward me while I was sitting in my chair. He wasn't plugged in either. Even if he was plugged in, he doesn't move like that. It would have required deliberate effort to move him like that. Also, a bulb upstairs started flickering like a strobe light again, and it wouldn't stop until I acknowledged it while filming the encounter. It had a clear rhythm to it and went on for several minutes. I got the distinct impression he wanted to go back into the basement. I did an EVP and video session when I was alone with my son while he slept. To my surprise, I caught distinct rhythmic bangs on the wall next to me, but not anywhere near the room my toddler was in. I also caught a possible light anomaly. About the lights, none of these lights ever died or even flickered again after these instances. When we put Pennywise back into the basement after Halloween, my husband set him up so he's looking out the window. A few odd things happened after this. One time I was looking for something all over. I checked in my bedroom multiple times. I go back in there for the 3rd time, and there it was right in front of my nightstand, nicely folded, where I just looked before. It hadn't been there prior to this time. Also, music would start playing on my phone when I needed to be somewhere. I hadn't set my alarm, and you would have had to deliberately push a button to get this music to play. Then it just stopped. It was almost like he was saying, "Thanks for putting me back in the basement with a view." However, when I'm going through a hard time, I will smell cigarette smoke and alcohol when no one in my house smokes or drinks. Yet sometimes the smell is so strong, I can taste it. I've also smelled perfume, and no one wears perfume in my house. I have a sensory sensitivity to smell. Most perfumes make me sick. That's when I really wish I had a spirit box to ask questions, but I really don't want to invite anything else into my home. I'm fine with this Pennywise ghost. Whoever they are, they're not mean. But I don't want anything negative in my home. I don't really know what to do. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't have to talk to it, but I'm just really curious. It was my birthday, and my girlfriend had planned an investigation of a haunted place for us. We both loved creepy stuff and were young, without much money, so this was one of the most romantic things for us to do. It was my girlfriend's first investigation. She knows that I have a talent for stumbling into weird situations, mostly by accident, like the Ouija experience we had a year before, so she was a bit nervous. I assured her that I had visited a bunch of abandoned and haunted locations, and most of the time, nothing happened. Well, this investigation will be something completely different. This place was located in the middle of nowhere. It was an old building that people forgot about many moons ago. Seriously, I don't know what this place was before. It must have been a hospital or a school by the looks of it. We arrived in the afternoon and went straight into the building, but at first it wasn't very spectacular. It was a normal old building with a bit garbage and graffiti on some walls. But in one room, we found something that will change our mind about the paranormal. As we approached this room, a very old, evil-looking dirty doll was sitting on this broken-down table in the corner. You can see that her best days were long gone, but she gave off this bad vibe energy. Don't get me wrong, I love creepy, scary stuff, but this doll gave me the chills. There was something off with the doll, but we let her be and continued with our exploring. After a while, my girlfriend said that she doesn't feel good. She was also so cold. I started noticing something was happening to me. I got a slight headache. I thought that maybe the reason for this was lack of water. I ignored it, gave my girlfriend my jacket, and we went deeper into the building. Soon after, I began to hear noises, very silent steps far away. My girlfriend didn't hear them, but I also didn't tell her about it, since she was already very scared. I led her in another direction, away from the noises, but I noticed that the steps continued to follow us. At first, I thought it could be another person, or maybe an animal. I usually don't assume that every sound in an abandoned building is something paranormal. An interesting fact was that the steps didn't come any closer. The steps would stop when we stopped. Then when we began to walk again, we would hear the footsteps. After a while, we started to hear laughter that sounded like children. My headache was getting worse. Also, my girlfriend began to feel sicker. She was also getting scared of the noises. Most of the time, I don't trust anything paranormal that takes the form of little children. But since we didn't feel very good, we decided that we should go. We left the building as fast as we could. On our way out, I noticed something that scared me to death. The doll we found in the other room was sitting in the middle of the main hallway. My girlfriend didn't notice it. She was in a hurry to get out of there. As I exited the building, I proceeded to vomit right there in front of the main door. My energy level was so drained, my girlfriend and I had to sit down for a few minutes. We were in a bad shape, but even on the outside, we could hear children laughing and giggling inside the building. Once I felt a little better, we drove off. The further away we got from the building, the better we felt. We never returned, although I really wanted to take that doll and burn it. So, some context for this story. In 2014, my father was renovating an abandoned house for a client. The previous owners had left some old porcelain collectible dolls. He decided it would be a great idea to bring them home to my mother since she collects dolls. She put them in their room above their bed, on a shelf. This happened 2 years later, after two smaller incidents occurred. It was the day after Halloween in 2016. I attended a Catholic school at the time, so we had All Saints' Day off. I was playing the Sims game in my room, and my parents' room was on the next floor up. I was the only one in the house besides my dog, who was in my room with me the entire time sitting on my lap. I was buzzing playing the game when suddenly I heard light footsteps coming from upstairs. The floorboards creaked at the same time. I said, "What's that?" I took my dog off my lap and placed him on my bed, then quickly went upstairs to check it out. To my surprise, no one was there, except those two dolls. A side note, my parents' room was always colder than the other parts of the house since the dolls arrived. I went back downstairs to continue playing the game, but 5 minutes later I heard the footsteps again, followed by the floorboards creaking. I again ran up the stairs to discover nothing was up there. I went back down to my computer and looked at my dog, who was quite distressed. I didn't have time to even sit down before I heard the footsteps louder. I heard something fall over and crash. This time I didn't even go back upstairs to see. I just grabbed my dog, a blanket, a butter knife, and quickly ran downstairs into my backyard. I also had my phone on me, so called my parents frantically to tell them what happened. But they didn't believe me. I knew they wouldn't either. A couple of hours passed. I was really hungry, so I went back inside to make myself a grilled cheese while it was in the panini press. I went upstairs to check it out. I found a doll laying on the floor with one of its legs broken off. I got some super glue and quickly put it back together. That was the end of it. A couple of weeks later, I looked at the doll's leg, and to my surprise, it looked like it hadn't even been broken in the first place. My mom still has these dolls. I'm not sure if she has had any paranormal experiences with them. I went to college a few months later. It was almost a year ago when my Nana passed away due to old age. When she passed on, we were bestowed 2 porcelain dolls. I got a blonde-haired pink-dressed snow princess doll that was stunning, and my sister got a red-haired green-dressed doll. We didn't do much with them, but let them collect dust on our shelves. A few months later, I wanted to see if the dolls from our Nana was haunted by someone or something. I'm a believer of the paranormal, so I used a spirit-talking app on my phone. And as soon as I turned it on, I heard 2 female voices and 1 male voice in the background. When I would try to ask a question, one of the female voices would try to speak, but the male voice interrupted speaking in German. Sometimes he would respond in English, then all of a sudden it went silent. The female voices came back after 10 minutes, but the answer that scared me the most was when I asked, "Is anyone possessing these dolls or any spirits in this room? If there is someone here, what is your name?" Then the male voice came through and said, "Satan, devil." I jumped up from my bed so fast and said, "That person isn't allowed here." Then the male voice giggled like it enjoyed scaring me. I told the spirit box that I'm going to shut the line of communication, but as soon as I went to turn it off, on the app, 3 little kids' voices came through and chimed in all at once. "Why?" Which freaked me out so much that I said bye, proceeded to turn off the app and uninstalled it. That investigation still scares me. I'm not sure if did the right thing or released something into my house. Nothing has happened since that day, but it's only been a week since this encounter. I'm hoping I don't need to get rid of my Nana's doll. I wish I would have never played with the Spirit Box app. Thanks for tuning in. Watch another video if you dare.